The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
This is Eric with Razorwire Halo, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. Hi, I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father. As always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today it's an honor and privilege to have Tack, Eric, Darryl, and Skylar. They are from the band Razorwire Halo. Razorwire Halo hail from Kansas City, Missouri. They have a new album out now entitled Retaliate, which is the follow-up album from 2016's New Empire. With over 150 released recordings on 10 albums and 10 singles, Razorwire Halo has released their new single, Sweat. And we're going to be talking to these folks about that. So welcome to the show, guys and gals.
Hey, thanks for having us.
No problem. Glad to have you on the show. So how's it been working with Curtain Call Records so far?
Great. Actually been very refreshing to work with a professional group like that and help us get out there more, get out to the masses. That's a big thing that we've been working very hard to do, and we knew we needed to bring another company in to help us get to that next level.
Razorwire Halo released your new single, Sweat. Was it hard to choose between the current set of songs on this album? Which one would be the next single or first single off this album? Also, what did you want that song to say for Razorwire Halo when folks heard it?
Oh, those are good questions. The first part, yes, it was definitely very difficult to decide which one we wanted to have as our main single for the album, because each track, I think, kind of held something special to each one of us, and we had to kind of look past necessarily the internal pieces of it and say, okay, what would be more radio friendly and more attractive to people, where Not Much Left to Believe In is another really good track. And we've pushed it, and so is Pretty. Pretty's a great one. For me, Pretty's probably my favorite, but it's not necessarily radio-friendly. It's a little more aggressive, and it'd be a certain smaller group of people would probably like that track more. So we had to step away and say, collectively, which one would be more radio-friendly than the rest. And so I think Sweat really fit that bill. It's not super heavy. It's got a good groove to it. It's got a good hook in the chorus, and it helps bring people in.
And Sweat is good too. It's got plenty of guitar, it's got plenty of electronics. So for a new audience, it would introduce them to a lot of what Razorwire Halo can do.
Yeah, Darryl, you're exactly right. And we didn't want our single or any of our tracks necessarily on the album to stray away from where we're at. We're very much have a rock feel, heavy guitars, but we'll always have that synth side to it. Where we're adding in strange keyboards and synth drums over the top of our live drums and whatnot. So I think it kind of fit the best of both worlds. And it also kind of rang in a new era for us. When we did this album, we decided we wanted to have a little bit more bounce to the music, instead of like a slower, just aggressive pounding sound. We wanted it to kind of get people to bob a little bit. And so we changed up our bass. And we went from the bass just kind of handling the low end and just sitting in the back of the mix, and we allowed it to come out and kind of almost lead the tracks now, which was a big, big change from what we did in the past.
What was the appeal for you guys to just be a electronic band, if that makes sense, versus to being just your standard metal rock band?
So I think it gives us a lot more options playing-wise. Lets us get a lot more unique sounds out of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not like that. To me, and starting out the band, it was originally completely electronic. There were no guitars at all. And this is many, many years ago when I was first working on the concept. And it kind of evolved and guitars started coming more and more into it. But Eric's exactly right. It's more about being able to change our sound and have unique feel to our music and not being stuck to a traditional bass, guitar, live drums, vocals, and that's it. We want to be able to take anything and create a new sound with it and give you something refreshing, Even with guitars, we'll put enough effects on them and do enough crazy stuff to them that you will think it's a synth when it's actually just a guitar.
Who produced, and I totally forgot to ask this, and I'm going to go back to this, but who produced the video and plus single Sweat for you guys?
Ken Little, he is basically our in-house video guy. So he's been doing all our videos for the last few albums.
Ken Little, A Ghost in Every Room.
Yeah, Ghost in Every Room, yeah. And he handles all of that. He also handles most of our graphics, our album art, and he's our go-to guy for all of that. I usually end up coming to him with a concept, and him and I work through the ideas, and then we get it kind of storyboarded and go out and do the video shoots, and then he works his magic on it.
Working with him, it's good to have somebody that you're familiar with, plus he knows exactly what you guys want.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Any songs for each of you standing out more than any right now possible? I mean, I know these have got to change every time you guys listen to it, but are there any sticking out for each of you all?
Yeah, sure. And like I mentioned, this attack, Pretty for me is a really personal track, and a little tongue in cheek a little bit on my side, but a really good heavy hitter track that was kind of personal to me.
This is Darryl. Currently on the newest album, I think I know what Eric's going to say, so I'm going to go with Supernova. It's the last track on there. It's a little more experimental. It's very drenched in effects, and it has the break in the middle is completely different from the rest of the song, and that was fun to put together.
I like all the songs. I beat my drums to anything.
Nice.
What do y'all hope everyone takes away from the new single, or message you hope they hear while listening to just any of Razorwire Halo's music in general, guys?
Well, that's a great question. So kind of interestingly enough, with Sweat, it doesn't have like an underlying meaning. I mean, it is just kind of a sexy song, right? Which is kind of a departure also from what we've done in the past, because all of our previous albums, all our previous tracks meant to have more depth to it and make you think. And we don't like to make things literal for people. We want people to kind of listen to it, watch these videos themselves, and make up their mind what they think it means. But with Sweat, it was kind of backwards, because there's no depth to it. It's what it is. And, it's a sexy song, and it leaves it at that. Now, we purposely made it that way because we wanted it to have a little bit of that shock value, right? We're not necessarily a shock rock band, but you definitely want to be able to make waves when you can and help kind of stick out a little bit more than others. But it was a good song overall. As for albums themselves, again, we continuously will always have, whether it's an EP or an LP, a storyline and a cohesive feeling for each release that we do. Retaliate itself was more of a combination of things that have been going on in our lives and us needing to work through that, which a lot more bands do traditional style like that. Our previous albums before that have very large storylines that go with it. New Empire was actually the third of the trilogy for The Occurrence, which ended that whole kind of era of the band, which was great for us. Having 3 albums over, I think it took us 4 years to do the 3 albums. It was a really, really big project. And then we switched out and did Retaliate, which was just kind of a different departure from that. And we're working on the next album right now, and the next single will be out soon. And it'll be a little bit different than these two.
You've done concept albums. Do you like that, though? I mean, is that something you guys would do again down the road, or no?
Yeah, I think we'll always do that. Whether it's blatantly out there for everyone, or if it has kind of a subtle undertone that we decide. To me, it's easier to write that way. It's easier to feel the entire album and what we want to get across. And when I don't do that, when I just start throwing tracks out there, I feel lost. I don't feel like there's a beginning and an end. It's just track after track, and it doesn't go together. And I know that in the current climate with music out there, people are willing to listen to one single and that's all they want to hear, and they'll stream it and they don't buy the full album. So that's why we kind of went down to an EP on this last one here versus full LPs, to let people digest it a little bit easier, so they can focus on 5-6 tracks rather than 10 to 15. And we felt like previously we had a lot of really good tracks on these other albums that people missed because we focused on like 2 singles, and then there were 12 tracks left over after that a lot of people didn't hear because they were focused on the 2. And then we were out writing another album. So I think concept-wise it'll always be there, and I think it's just a little more abbreviated than it used to be, but we'll continue on with it.
As artists, we're as telling stories. That's that's what it always comes down to. And sometimes you write a story and fit pieces to it. Other times, you'll write a story that's a little more personal, like Retaliate.
Exactly.
how much growth musically have you seen this band and plus yourselves go through up to the release of this new single, or has it just been more of a personal growth for each of you involved in this?
I think there's personal growth, but I also know that the band has grown. So, you know, we've gone through changes within the band over the years to grow into what we are and to bring the A-list team of members that we have now. So you see it. You see the difference live, the power of the show, the tightness between the band. And then not only that, but the recording itself, because, you know, where you may have been lacking a little bit before, someone's making up that spot. You know, Eric is fairly new to the band, and he came in right after we released Retaliate. So he's been working on the new stuff with us, and you hear a big difference between what we used to do, which was program drums, and versus him actually recording on the albums now. So there's a big difference there. And you know, each year we challenge each other to be better. You have to grow as a musician. You have to grow as a person. If you don't, you get left behind. It's just the way it is in the beast of businesses like that, you know? So we challenge each other every day.
Yeah. I was sitting down here not too long ago listening to some of our older albums, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, and I just put myself back into those spots, and we did those, and how different we were as, you know, as musicians and as people. It's, you know, so much has changed, just constantly moving forward.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question. What has Eric and Robert brought to this band that may have been missing possibly?
Live drums for Eric, definitely. We've gone through a couple of drummers over the years, and we've always been looking for just that right person to fit, you know, style-wise. You know, that's
it's always been, though, he's a good drummer, but not such, you know, not so good at this, or, you know, he's good at that, and Eric just kind of brings the whole thing.
Yeah, he gives us the power drums, and he gives us the technical drumming skills that we needed on there. And his background blends very well with our style, and that was a big addition. Same goes with Rob. I knew Rob from another band that's based out of Kansas City, and have always admired his guitar skills. And I brought him into a second project I was working on, and we did some work there. He was guest guitar for there, and then we needed a slot for some live guitar with Rob while our other guitarist Kyle is out on the road doing some other stuff. And Rob came in, and it was like seamless. He came in and started writing guitar and flowing things through, and learned all the tracks for live within just a few days and was ready to go. And, you know, he hasn't looked back since then.
When you guys come into the recording studio, do you do anything differently during that writing and recording process to help keep your minds fresh and open, to not get bored, to not let the music get stale? Do you guys do anything differently or no?
So I usually lead the forefront of that myself. The first thing that we do is we kind of play around with just some tracks. So we just write a little bit, right? See what we like, what we're feeling. We may be in a mood for a bunch of heavy tracks. We may be in a mood for slow rhythmic tracks. Whatever comes out is we just let it go. We don't put any restrictions on anything at all. Then as we get a little further along, we start kind of hearing a soundscape and putting that together, which involves, you know, your rhythm guitar tone, your bass tones that's going to, you know, kind of run the whole album itself. And then you start bringing in some of the little nice keyboards and the synth drum sounds that you have and whatnot. So we kind of go through that phase, which is fun because it's all about experimentation. I'm not necessarily worried about what the end result's going to be, but, you know, we'll write 10, 15 partial songs that we like, and we're like, okay, these sound neat. And then we'll get to a point where there's just one that just kind of flows out of us. And we go, okay, that's it. That's what this album is going to be based off of. This is the starting track. And pretty much the rest of those tracks we do from that point back are gone. And then we start from there and we start building out new tracks. It actually goes really well and it flows decently, I think. Darryl, and I may be mistaken, but I think Sweat was that track, wasn't it? Wasn't track that we used as our pivot?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and Darryl and I, we were the main writers in that one, and we sat down and we're just playing around, and there's this nasty little guitar line that was just kind of sitting out there, and we started playing with it, and it turned into what Sweat is now, and it came through very quickly, and that's what we like. We like music that just flows. We do not go into a studio and spend 8 hours trying to force something out. If we're there for an hour and nothing's happening and we're just not feeling it, we're done. We'll come back another day. And so we get more of a organic feeling track rather than a feeling like we forced it to do what it's going to do. We actually have a lot of tracks where I vocally just don't like what I'm doing and can't come up with something. Mm-hmm. And so we set it aside. where the rest of the music is all there, but it's just not good enough in our taste for that. So we set it aside. But anybody else got anything? I know I talk a lot on this.
No, you're fine.
No, just don't get stuck in a spot.
Yeah, definitely.
And don't get too comfortable, because I just hope and pray every time I get songs that they don't end up getting changed or thrown into a scrap pile, because that's usually what happens. The ones that I start to really like, it's like, it's not on the list anymore. It's, oh, we don't like it, we're going to change it. Like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah. That's something we tell all new members is, don't fall in love with anything. What I like to do is take that producer role and step back and go, does this work for the track? Does this work for the album? Is this song itself, does it fit with this album? And I will in a second cut a song or change a chorus or rip out a verse or anything like that, just to make sure that we're happy with the way it feels. I think the best scenario of that was on, it would be New Empire, actually. Pull the Trigger on there was actually a completely different song just days before we were going to send it off the press. And I got a wild hair and rebuilt the track and sent Darryl a message and said, hey, heads up, I redid the entire song. So nothing safe. We're definitely like
that's not an embellished story. That actually happened.
Oh, it actually happened, yeah. It's happened many times. Yeah.
It's like a George R.R. Martin book.
Yeah, nothing or nobody's safe.
Yeah, no one is safe. Your favorite will go quicker than the others.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you're awesome in the band. Next day you're out. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So do you like having the role, guys, of doing the albums yourself versus having somebody to produce it and things like that? Do you like that more, to be in control and do it whenever you want to?
That just means we get all the control over. We don't have to have anyone breathing down our neck telling us what to do. Hurry up, get it done. Take our time, do what we want.
Perfect. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to trust too. Like, when you work with the producer or something like that, they're like, that guitar part or that riff was okay, but let's do better. And so the trust part comes in is, if I come in with a certain riff, Tack has to be the one to be like, that's okay, but we can do better. So that's where, we're trusting each other, we're pushing each other. So, if we're doing it ourselves, we can experiment with a lot of things and then, ultimately figure out which direction we want to go ourselves. So
my part to add to that would be that I have worked with producers in the past. Some I've liked more than others. But there's always a common thread to that, and that is they're paid by hour or by project and whatnot, and they want to get through it as fast as possible. So they're going to push you really hard to work as fast as you can to get the best results. We don't like to work that way. We want to take our time. We want to listen to the track. We want to write 4 different guitar lines, 4 different vocal melodies, sit on them for a little while, come back, go, you know what? The first one was right. And then 2 months later, come back and go, actually, no, the 4th one was right. Let's go back and re-record that and drop it in. It's all back to that part I was talking about where if we're not feeling it, we don't want to be forced into that scenario. And I've been in that scenario where you're sitting in a studio and they're like, you have 4 hours left, otherwise you owe us more money, and you've got all your vocals still to do or whatnot. And so you're like, okay, fine, I'm just going to spit out everything I possibly can and hope it's good and trust the producer and the sound engineer and stuff to make this the way we want it. And they're less than favorable results. And you see that with a lot of bands, especially when you get local or regional acts who don't have a lot of money to spend and don't know who to talk to. They end up getting hosed because they just show up to someone who's like $100 a track, it'll be fine. And then they get $100 worth of music out, which, in this day and age, you can't do that. You can't go, well, it's okay music, because there's a million bands out there that have amazing music. So you want to make sure that your production is high, that your sound engineer is a quality one, that whoever does your mastering is quality. That way you're not stuck in the small pond. We talk about this a lot internally with the band, is we want to be the little fish in the big pond and then work our way up. We don't want to be the big fish in the little pond. So, it's all about branching out. It comes back to working with Curtain Call. Curtain Call helped us get more nationalized, where we can get across the United States easier. We've been playing, 18 states that we had played in previously. And this year we're already starting to book out further than we had previously. We're going East Coast and we're going to head West Coast, it looks like, this fall. So it's about getting this out to the people and getting people high quality music. As far as producer role, I feel like personally, I know what I want musically. I've spent a lot of time in the studio working on sounds, working on layouts, structures, all of that. And then bringing each one of these band members in, usually it's one-on-one is what I like to do. And someone will come in and give me a start of something, or I'll have something started out, and then they'll lay a guitar line or a bass line down, or Eric will come on with drums and write something over our stuff and go from there. But it goes so well. It's so clean. It's so effective. You don't have three people sitting in a studio bored out of their mind because they don't care what the drums are doing or whatnot. You end up you end up being focused and saying, Eric, give me the best you can on drums and let's work on it. And we're all honest with each other, and we're all respectful. We'll give each other crap and say, hey, why don't you try doing that a little bit better, huh? But
that's a huge thing. The respect.
Yeah, everyone respects each other as musicians, and we respect each other's our thoughts on the stuff. I may not agree with something that Eric's doing, but I'm not going to shoot it down. I'll go, well, let's record it and see if it sticks. Let it sink in a little bit, but let's do a second recording and see if changing the snare here will work. So it's all about working as a team and allowing things to flow like they should.
What can fans expect at a show from Razorwire Halo who have not got to see you guys live as of yet?
An experience.
It is an experience. So a few years ago, we were sitting back and talking about the rebranding of the band, the look, the feel, the live show, and everything that we do has to be larger than life. We're all from a time where we feel like musicians were larger than life. They were not necessarily godlike, but some people might say that, the equivalent. But what it is it's the mystery about the musician. Like David Bowie, very, very, mysterious, very over the top. You didn't see him as everyday guy. You saw him as David Bowie, and the guy's, a genius. So when we were talking about it, we were like, we need to make sure that everything we do is professional, is larger than life, and gives people something to look up to, and not necessarily feel like we're just another group of kids out there.
You can go to any club in any city and go see, people up there playing guitar and drum and bass and singing. You have to be different. You have to be, special.
You do. Exactly. And so we said, okay, fine. We'll have a unique look. We have a unique sound. How do we make our show unique? And we went through several versions of just some projection and some extra lighting and whatnot. And we said, well, can we do something unique with the projection that other people haven't done on our club level status that we do? We're not an arena. But how can we get something that looks like it would belong in an arena into a club level and almost take people out of the room and suck them into our world? And so what we did is we created what we call enhanced live show. And it's basically 3D projection. There is a black mesh screen in front of us, in the front of the stage, and then white screens behind us. And the projection is out by the sound engineer, and it actually will shoot across the screens and will actually envelop us in it. So it actually gives us layers. And so we can actually make it look like we're in the middle of the scene.
Oh, that's cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, and the whole show is like that. It's nonstop. It's a visual aspect of it. And there's lots of videos out there of us, and they look amazing, but you don't even know till you show up to one of the shows. Seeing it in person is a completely different, surreal kind of experience. It doesn't matter if we're in a 10 by 10 stage in the corner of a pizza place, or if we're playing, a 5,000 person venue. We take everyone to the same experience, the same place when we play live, and take them away from just the fact that they're at some club.
So we're living in a digital era of recording albums to get music out quicker, and now we've got social media to reach out to more folks who have not got to hear of Razorwire Halo. Do you guys like this, of getting albums out quicker and plus reaching out to more folks?
Yes. I myself, I'm a huge tech person, and that's what drives a lot of the band. From the projection live show to how we release things online. We build our own site. We handle our own releases that way. And I'm okay with quick release on albums. The only downside to that is what we talked about earlier, is less time for people to digest an album. They're going to listen to 2 tracks and then they're on their way. So, we've talked a lot about, do we do a full album? Do we do EPs? Do we do singles only? And once or twice or once a month or every 2 months, we release a new song and everyone focuses on that. Or do we do groups? And we decided to go with the group of tracks of the EP because we wanted to have something tangible at shows to sell. And it's much more difficult to have a physical CD at a show that's a single. People are less likely to buy it, and it's not cost effective at all. So if we release 5,
1993.
yeah, exactly. Release 5 tracks there, we can do that. But it also allows us now to release music faster because now we're only releasing 5 tracks, and we have a bunch more already in the works. As soon as people heard Retaliate, we already were starting on the next album. We were already thinking about what we wanted to do. We don't stop when we get finished with an album. We immediately start to the next one.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. I mean, there should be, once you have one album almost finished or halfway done, there should be already works on a new one constantly. Exactly.
Well, look at video games. Look at iPhones, phones in general, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yearly, you get a yearly release. Everyone's looking for that next release on that, and so it's almost been ingrained in humans now that they're expecting once a year for a big announcement of something. So you always want to be right on it, with it. It's the same thing with playing live. You don't want to play the same city 14 times a year, but you can't play that city, once every 3 years because they're going to forget about you. You got to go out there and play it, twice a year and bring a different show each time you do it. And we have enough music out there and we're releasing enough material that we're constantly changing our live show up. So you may see us on a Wednesday, and then next month you'll see us on a Thursday, and you're going to get a completely different live show.
Just like me as doing my show here, my podcast. I mean, I'm constantly pumping out interviews. I mean, you have to be a machine. You have to keep going on and going on.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and and people don't know about all the things that go in the background, all the business stuff that goes into planning a tour, planning all of your release pieces for your album.
Sure.
Whether it's your artwork or who's actually gonna print it or who's gonna master or any of that. There's so much going on, and while you're doing that, you're trying to figure out how you can still be artistic and still enjoy all those pieces. So it's definitely a balancing game.
And that's what separates the people who are really good at it and people who aren't, is that quality. Anybody can constantly write songs. Anybody can constantly outline shows and stuff like that. But it's when the quality doesn't suffer, that's when you're doing it the correct way. People stay interested.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
How much local support does Razorwire Halo get via venues and airplay, if any, guys?
Quite a bit, as far as I understand. I mean, we work really hard to get us out to radio stations. Curtain Call has done a great job of it. We've worked with Tag Publicity on stuff last year with Retaliate. And pushing that out. That's our big deal. Before we had Curtain Call, before we worked with Tag Publicity, it was doing it ourselves and trying to figure out how to get people to pay attention to us and whatnot. And we ended up saying, we realized we kind of suck at promotion. Like, we try really, really hard at it, but we're not very good. So we want to reach out to people that were professionals at it and could get us to that next spot. So, we work hard when we go to show or play shows to make sure that radio stations know we're coming and make sure that people know we're coming overall and get us played, and so that we can get people out there.
Man, you're
seeing growth in cities too.
Yeah.
You're 1,000% right. Tag Publicity plus Curtain Call Records. I see nothing but emails constantly from these folks, and I do stuff for both of them, and they're great. There's some PRs that I work with that do the same thing, and I like that, man. It's not just for the locals; it's for everybody. But I'm glad to see Tag, and plus you got Curtain Call that's helping independent bands to finally get out and have a little voice. So that's cool for those. Kudos to both of those folks on that deal.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you gone to a show or gone to a bigger concert and discovered somebody that you had never seen before?
Exactly.
And it's like, this is my new favorite band, right. And Tag and Curtain Call and those type of places, they can get you into places, and we've had people show up in other cities and be like, oh my God, I heard you guys on, this radio station. I love it. You guys are my new favorite. And, and they'll come and buy a whole bunch of merch, and, it's good to have those people.
For each of you, what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark that said, yeah, that's what I want to do?
For me, it was two pieces. One, partially was my brother. He was 3.5 years older than me, and he was into music when I think I was 11 or 12 years old. And I admired him for that. And then he introduced me to industrial rock from the 90s, Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Smashing Pumpkins, Tapping Western, those kind of bands. And before that, music was fine, but I wasn't like enthralled by it. I wasn't like, holy crap, what is this? But as soon as I heard that music, it immediately changed everything for me. And from that point on, I immediately was like, well, how can I learn how to play music? And I was getting all my friends who didn't know how to play music, and we were buying, $50 guitars and little $50 Casio keyboards and making some of the worst noises you've ever heard in your entire life. And we loved it. And that's what we did. And I kept going through phases where my friends didn't care as much as I did, so they would fall away. And then that's what got me even more into the fact that I could write music myself if I had programs, if I had the ability to play guitar, play drums, play keyboards, do vocals. And that's what set it off for me. So, it attributes to my brother, and really Nine Inch Nails has been my favorite band since I was young. And there's many other ones that help influence that style.
For me, I was 11 or 12, and I discovered my dad's record collection. Beatles, Queen, John Denver, Billy Joel, and all this. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And then I remember when I got around to, the Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that. And I just knew then I had to play music. If people listened or if they didn't listen, I had to go play. So,
yeah. Music has always been a big part of my life. I can always remember as a young kid, just the feelings that, the emotion that you get when you listen to, your favorite songs or you hear something new. It just, that transferred over when I started playing actual drums. So it just carried on through, and I still get those feelings. So hopefully I'll still keep those.
Yep.
We hope so too.
Me too.
I just like the idea of creating cohesive sound, that I'm able to participate in the creation of something that can create so much feeling.
Yes, exactly. Like here's this silence. I'm going to fill it with art.
Is there a country that stands out or shocks you guys that Razorwire Halo gets support from, or your music even gets played in?
Oh, South Africa. We made this top 10 list on some indie rock station on there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it happened a few months back. That kind of blew me away.
Yeah, we've had pretty good support in Australia for a number of years. There's a few fans out there that really like us out there. And what was it, earlier 2018, we did a few interviews in the UK, which we were really excited about. We're really, really wanting to get out to Europe and play, across those countries. And we know that electronic, heavier rock style music like that is very popular out there, and it would be a good place for us. So we've been trying to kind of push our name out there and get people to start kind of noticing it so that we can get out there.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up Razorwire Halo's new single, Sweat. Plus, they got some other albums that's out there as well, some EPs. Guys, how can folks stay in touch with you, buy some merchandise, tour dates when you go on tour, things like that? How can they do that?
First and foremost, our main website, it is razorwirehalo.com. We make sure that is updated all the time. It has all of our music that's available for purchase directly from us. It has all of our upcoming dates that have been announced. We do have quite a few that have been announced for February, and then we've started announcing in April and then June. So we're going to have some more dates out there. We're going to be hitting Florida, West Virginia. We're going to be up north in Iowa, Nebraska, and down in, it looks like, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas. Looks like all those are going to start getting announced here soon too. So we're looking forward to it. People can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We got lots and lots of videos for people to see, whether it's the live stuff or our official music videos. And you guys can also find each one of our personal pages, and we love talking to people. So they can hunt us down based off of our names and off of the website and find us.
Before I let you go, would you all care to do a promo, or just one of you guys or gals, however you want to do it? Would you care to do a promo for me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Eric with Razorwire Halo, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link plus our YouTube link. Also get out and check out Razorwire Halo. They have some great music for that band. Best of luck to you guys out there for this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.